Yeah, because language clarifications were. I didn't see that the X was up one, so, yep.
Where the Excel grievance got disappeared at some point. Was that both of us that
The grievance procedure,
was that grievance, or was that just us?
That was them.
I think it was
All
all
of us then? Because we did it as well.
Oh, yeah.
but that, yeah. Yep. See, I thought that X was on there, but that was for fringe benefits, so.
Yeah.
Notice I'm not gonna change it, but I figured we both.
Thank you.
Give me a change.
I thought of it jokingly, then I was like, you know what, I should just grab it.
Teacher move, right?
That might be because of.
That's because this one never hole punches.
Well,
Not because of you.
Not saying we're due for a new computer.
I do.
in the boardroom, but-
Okay, I wasn't accusing, I was just curious, I was like,
Computer in the boardroom.
if you don't, they're kind of handy.
Same.
I like my tree. But mine's.
They switch them and it still just keeps dying. You're not supposed to talk.
We ready to get this party started? Drew, are you ready?
Good. It's live streaming.
We are live streaming.
No, I'm not. Drew's my.
What are you?
James.
Yelled at the hospital people because they gave Jane Burnford her private information.
I her flowers. If you're gonna tell the story, at least know that
I laughed.
I was
Yeah, it's
mad.
really
I
weird.
sent
The
her
only one
flowers.
that doesn't have his, like,
I felt really
like Shane
bad.
Burns, excuse me, his real name is Michael too.
Yeah.
It's like when you email him, it says
Right, and
Michael.
so that's
Levi.
what I'm sorry, another man
Right,
who
so
gets
James. But
their
his-
name
his
correct.
Does
email
it have the
is-
little parentheses?
What's that?
Chambers, even though his real name's Michael.
I used to have Dean Town as my email,
Russell.
and then they changed it.
My sir Russell,
I don't
he's also not Russ. He has a different name. I gotta
Really?
know what it
It's
is.
not Russell though.
So it probably
No,
depends on
it's
how long
Russell
you.
is his name,
Is it?
yeah, but Russ is not his legal name either.
I'm gonna tell you something that I've already
How
agreed
long you've been here,
So
that's
he
when they
also,
used to
he's
do
also
it.
hard.
But having,
I
the list
have
is
three.
long.
Wasn't this the first one I said to you as human resource thing? I think this was the first one I gave to
I
you.
call him Russell every once in a while when I wanna meet him.
But only the men's names have changed on that one and have the print.
Phone holder. And
I'm the only woman that's asked for it.
You're the only one with what?
I value my
I'm
life.
the only woman that's asked for the name change.
it's on my couch.
Like when you call, it's like M Drew, or it's like M
I meant to
Tom.
bring it, but I didn't go home.
It's history.
Drew,
Stayed at school.
Jay Burnfin, parentheses Levi. Russ, I don't know how Russ got grandfathered in.
That's what triggered it.
Is yours,
Shane says Shane Burns, but his is
did
my.
you say Rebecca?
Yes,
You want a Becca?
I've said this, that was my first
You see that
grievance
on
when
the
we
news?
became.
I
human
know,
resource
I
fourth
wasn't
manager.
listening.
Missed
I was
the
in
bus.
November.
So he's.
I just want the little parentheses.
No, listen, he's saying this because I grieve a lot and that was probably a small.
I'm not-
And they said that he had to work out a lot. He actually-
Practically have all been all positive.
I'm not gonna follow. Where was this?
In Mays,
Oh, in Kansas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as a fourth grader, you're what?
10.
I was gonna say 9, yeah.
By
About
this
10,
time of year,
yeah.
10.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fall. He went, for when he went. Okay, cause I wouldn't. I'd be like, I gotta run.
Go back to that. Makes you wonder if he's a farm kid.
Right, I've been driving these things since I was 5, like, what's the?
Where do we want to start?
Well, I mean, we left off at health and safety. I don't know if there's.
Is that where you guys want to start?
That's fine with us.
Okay. So, we've kind of talked about it. I think, well, I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing you guys, because that's not my intent here. But I don't feel like this belongs in the negotiated agreement. I feel like we have policy for this. If we need to update policy, I'm okay with that. We also have a discipline policy, you know, that we follow, and if we need to update that discipline, I mean, we worked on that, but it's been 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah.
So if we need to look at that again, that's something that we talked about. That may be something where we want to put language in the agreement that we're gonna review that policy like every 2 or 3 years. We can put language in that to address that, but I feel like, I don't know that that's, to me, this is not a negotiated agreement issue, this is a policy issue, and if we're not following policy, then we need to, that needs to be addressed, you know, through the negotiated agreement if we're not following policy.
I mean, yeah, I agree that it is, I agree that it can be addressed in multiple places. And I don't think, as we mentioned last time, I don't think this language would be able to address everything, like it is impossible to do so, right? The concern that this stems from is as we mentioned last time, is the procedures of how do we address the exceptional cases, the cases that are uncommon, so we don't deal with it on a regular basis, we don't know the steps and procedures, we don't know how to manage this particular behavior, maybe that's recurring. We need supports that either the principal is unable, unwilling, or incapable of providing. And how does that look? What does that look like to get those supports in the classroom?
So I think a couple things. I mean, one, I think if there's a teacher that feels like they need that support, the first step should be to go to the principal. I mean, we need to follow the chain of command. If they feel like they're not getting that, and they're not getting the support that they need, then they need to go to that principal supervisor, which would be me or Drew or, you know, whoever, you know, Heather. Heather's gonna be in charge of elementary instruction next year. Dr. Duncan will be in charge of secondary instruction. I mean, those people would be the people we would reach out to. Obviously, if it's a kiddo who's on an IEP, like, you know, Linda's kiddos, then that would be something where we go to Gina or, you know, I mean, I think that needs to work up the ladder. We have behavior consultants in the building or in the district, and, you know, so if we've got kiddos who are, I mean, Drew and I have worked really hard to try to address a lot of the behavior issues, you know, adding the social workers in, putting those things in place. One of the things that I don't think we did a good job of identifying we need people, but I don't think we've done a good job of clarifying roles for people. And so we've got to do a better job of that, and he and I have talked about that a couple times already this year. We need to sit down and, you know, like Tracy's building, for example, they've got a school counselor and a social worker in that building that are working. What's the role of one versus the other?
Our social worker's leaving because she feels like her role is not being used.
Yeah, we've got to clearly detail what that looks like, and we need to use our people better. The other thing, I think, I know it's a pain, and I get it, but we've got to put behavior plans in place, and we've got to follow those plans. And I know for teachers, a lot of times that's frustrating because we feel like we're not, you know, that's not working. Well, if we're not actually trying to implement that behavior plan, we're not trying to utilize it and collecting data to show that it's not working, it's hard for us to say that it's really not working. And so we've got to do our due diligence to, and I'm not talking about special education kids, but we put behavior plans in place for a lot of kids that are on SAT. And so we've got to really be following those behavior plans and collecting that data. And if that's not working, then we need to address that. I guess that would be my position on that.
I would say it is encouraging to hear, because one of the feedbacks we got is like, I know we have social workers now. Do I reach out to the social worker? Like, how can they help me in the classroom? The behavior specialist, like, what's their role? So it's encouraging to hear that we're all both on the kind of same page there. Like,
Yeah.
There's some processes there. Then I'm going to kind of refer to Linda, because I think she had a case that a kid in your school, Linda, who you might wanna talk about, give a little bit of context?
Yeah.
No names.
I can give you an example.
Yeah. Give examples.
Okay, so
You just be vague.
Yeah.
we've got a bit plan now for this child. Okay, so I'm just gonna be broad about it. There just seems to be a lack of communication, I guess you would say, when it comes to children who the appropriate setting is not in the gen ed classroom. And when you take all this data, you get it all together, you follow the BIP, it's like pulling teeth to get a child over to the TEP when they need it. Even when their case managers say they need it from Compass, but then they get denied. And I know that TEP is not an end-all, be-all. If it's not that, then the behavior program, but then when you get the behavior program, it's almost like you get kickback because we couldn't handle it at our school. And we're not the only school, I know there's other schools, other teachers talk, but there's got to be some answers because we're going to start losing teachers. I mean,
Yeah,
and I know
so
you probably know the situation at our building, and if you don't, then,
a couple, and so I think a couple of things there. The TEP, y'all have to understand that that's not just, we don't have control over that
Correct.
unilaterally. I mean, that's a partnership, and so both entities have to be in agreement on that, and so that's always gonna be something that we're gonna have. We're gonna be partners in, and we're not gonna have unilateral control of that. Drew and I have recognized that behavior plan needs to grow, the behavior program needs to grow, and so we're making efforts to do that. The problem we have at Georgia Matthews is,
how many
Georgia-
years?
no,
Oh,
but
Georgia
that's where the
Matthews.
behavior
Yeah.
classroom is. But the problem that you have at Georgia Matthews is that it's a one-track school.
Right.
And so those kiddos are not in a classroom, they're not in that behavior classroom, they're actually in the gen ed setting. And they just go to the behavior classroom when they need to regulate, when they're dysregulated, to get them regulated and go back into the classroom. So if we're moving a lot of kiddos over there, we just don't have room for all of them
Right.
because of the classroom structure. So we're actually we're working on moving Georgia Matthews to a two-track program so that we can grow that program. We recognize that there's needs around the
And I
district.
know you
I
guys
mean,
do, I mean, I know it's not, I mean, nobody's
yeah.
oblivious to what's going on,
Yeah.
but I mean, I feel bad for our admin, it's not even our, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just like,
and-
she's doing everything she's supposed to do.
and I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of behaviors that are coming up that we're dealing with, or things that I mean, with my background and the stuff that I've done, that I'm not sure I would know how to write that behavior plan either. And I think a lot of that, I mean, and you know this, Linda, being a sped person, but a lot of that is trial and error. I mean, you've gotta put something in place, and you've gotta give it an opportunity to work. And then if it works, that's great, keep doing it. And if that doesn't work after, a few weeks of collecting that data, then you gotta try something else and you keep trying. But I think we're trying to, we've added another RISE room, we've added another LEAP room, we're trying to grow the behavior program. I talked to Mr. Sullivan last week. I don't know that we're there yet, but we may be looking at another classroom at the TEP if that's needed. And so, I mean, we're trying to address those. When we went back, and you got impacted by that when we closed all the classrooms back. That was like my first year on the job.
Mhm.
The whole reason we did that wasn't something that we really wanted to do. Linda was the only certified teacher I had for 7 classrooms. And it didn't, you're taking your most severe kids, with the most significant delays, and you're gonna put them in front of long-term subs all day long. I just didn't feel like that was the best thing for kids. And so we made that decision at that time to close all those classrooms and try to do it this way. And I think through that process, we identified a lot of kids that were successful when we did that. But we're seeing a lot of kids that are not successful. And so as Drew has done a really good job of hiring more teachers and getting more of those things in place, we've been able to bring some of those classrooms back. We opened a classroom at semester at AP, that's the Rainbow Bridge room. I'm never gonna remember that name. You know what the Rainbow Bridge is, right? And I struggle with that.
It was
but-
realized
Yeah,
after.
I struggle with that
it's-
name, but.
He's used to leap, right?
Yeah, one word
Auxiliary.
acronym, yeah. But anyway, so we opened that recognizing and that's a need that we've not had in the past. So try to target that. I mean, we're trying to be creative and we're trying to address those things. It's gonna take time. I mean, I think
I just don't know how to address it with staff when they're frustrated. I mean, and they're seasoned
Sure.
teachers. It's not
Yeah,
like it's.
and I think a
they're
lot of that
brain dead.
is,
It's just. They're
are we
frustrated.
continuing to work together? And if that communication is broke down, where is that communication broke down? What is that issue? And I think we need to get the supervisor of those people involved and try to rectify that situation would be my, if it's Gino or if it's, if it's Morgan or if it's Heather or at some point it could even come up to my level, I mean, I'm not opposed to that either. But I think we need to me, that's what we do. But I don't think it would be bad to put language in the negotiated agreement that we're gonna review the discipline plan too, if we feel like we need to do that.
Well, I mean, we can absolutely do that. I'm not opposed to it. I don't think that this policy is necessarily the issue.
Okay,
What I do think is the issue is the communication about it.
Right.
I don't know what the percentage is. We should put that up on the survey, to be honest. I would be stunned if it's more than 50%. No, we even have 5 levels.
Have what? I'm sorry.
Have 5 levels now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the discipline policy.
do we not have behavior posters? Cause we made all those posters, or they not?
We've got them in our bill
buildings?
too.
But does anybody look at them?
Right.
I just think the communication around how that's supposed to work inside the building has either like it started strong and fell off or just
Yeah,
always kind of.
and I guess,
And with as much turnover as we have, it's
Sure.
hard to-
I mean, I think that's something that needs to be reviewed. The other thing I would say is, we've been working with TASN, and updating kind of like our MTSS process, and our big focus has been on behavior and kind of addressing it from that perspective. And so, that's one of the things that they brought up to us is looking at our discipline policy. We've got some of those, interventions that are on there that are listed that you could do. And they said some of those are really not interventions as much as they are strategies. And so they've got recommendations, and so there may be changes that we want to bring through that. I know, I mean, we're trying to hit it from all angles, we really are.
And I understand that.
And I think we're just at the beginning stages of that. And so we're really starting to, we're right now it's just kind of data, what are the behaviors that we feel like are an issue that we need to target? This being one of those behaviors, I think. I will tell you that your administrators in SAC and Drew and Jessica can attest to that too, as we have our SAC meetings with administration. We kind of talked about what do we want to focus on, and behavior is one of the things that administration really feels like they need support with too. So it's not just a classroom thing. I mean, it's a universal thing.
I should have mentioned that earlier too, that we did feel like most principals were trying to
Yeah.
address these concerns. That just like I mentioned earlier, that there was,
I think a lot of it is building capacity.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is, and I don't know that it's been the best approach, but, bringing in Dr. Scott, bringing in Heather T. Forbes. I mean, we've tried to bring in people we've got somebody coming in on the first that's gonna kind of talk about some of those things a little bit more, kind of addressing things. Because I think a lot of it is trauma for a lot of our kids, and, the trauma that they're coming home with, and the baggage that they're carrying. And so how do we address some of that? I mean, I think we're doing that, but we just need to get better. One of the things that I think that I've learned through working with the folks from TASN is that we've just got to get more, we've got to get more systems in place. We're not good at that, We're really good when it gets to this level and they end up with me at an expulsion hearing, but what are we doing here to prevent some of that in between there?
Who was the other person you said, Dr. Scott?
Heather T. Forbes. So she does Classroom 180,
Can I give a
really good book, so.
Can I give a couple examples?
Sure.
Well, first, I want to say that I really appreciate that you're recognizing like the trauma and that they need regulation, because I feel like it used to always just be like they're bad kids, they're trouble, and like that was our only option, was to like punish them, which was awful. But I really love having the social worker and the school counselor this year, because we've been able to do like, if I have a kid who is really struggling and I know they're not like behaving that I need to send them to the principal's office, they're not being bad, but they're not regulated, I've been able to text them and they will come to my room, get the kid, like that has made a huge difference. So I just wanna emphasize that. But on top of that, even with that in place, thinking of one instance right now with one of the most seasoned teachers in our building, incredible teacher, not in like, in the 4 years I think I recommended every year. And she had a student that the struggle is there, and it's like the extreme behaviors are almost so regular that it's like if we were to follow a discipline plan, they'd just be constantly
Yeah.
sent to the office. So then it's almost like, well, just ignore the behaviors. Well, they're disruptive to the whole class. And it's this weird, like,
Yeah,
there's no good ground there. Does that make sense?
absolutely,
And I
yeah.
think that's like one of those big problems where like the rest of the class can't learn,
Mhm.
yet there's nothing like,
Yeah, and I think that was one of the goals that Levi and I had when he and I were both on the same page when we were on that discipline committee, because it was very punitive, I feel like, in a lot of the cases. I mean, and y'all have to understand that when that discipline policy was written, I think it was a different time. I mean, that was when zero tolerance was really a big thing, and there was no strike three and you're out. It was, okay, you're done kind of thing. And the consequences were really harsh for kindergarten first graders, and so we needed to relax some of those things. But I don't know that I'm certainly not going to stand there and say that it's the perfect end all be all. I mean, if we need to make improvements to that, we can certainly do that. Situations like that, Tracy, I don't know that I have a clear answer.
don't
That's
either.
that's a struggle.
And we have the same thing in our building right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of
Teachers
that
get
is,
spit on.
I think a lot of that is recognizing when those kiddos are there and getting them out of the room and working on it. And a lot of the times, those kids are gonna be in and out of the room a lot. I mean, that's what you see, a lot of the times. I mean, like, and they may be only able to be in there for 10 minutes, and you work up their tolerance. I mean, that's the whole philosophy of special ed, right? You get them in there and give them that time, and then they need a break. I mean, you've got to do a lot of breaks with a lot of those kids and build that time up where it's really short, and you want to increase that as time goes on. I mean, I think.
and like the extra rooms you said you're adding,
Yeah.
like that'll give places for them
Yeah,
to go, but it reminded me of one other thing is, kindergarten, oh man, they are rough every year, and it's like, I think every single kindergarten class probably has at least one kid that is
Sure.
undiagnosed and needs to be on an IEP, but this is their first time being in school. And our data shows that is where the most of our like violent incidents are happening. And I don't know if there was a way to just get like para support there the way they have at Garfield, because just because the kids don't have an IEP, they still need that support. And by the end of the year, by December, I think every single kindergarten class basically has a new kid on an IEP.
Mhm.
And I think that support would make a big difference for those incidences.
And I agree,
Lower
because
that.
I think that is a lot of it, they come from Garfield and they're used to having paras in every classroom at Garfield to help out. And then when we get them, this is it, we get told, well, we had them fine when we were having at Garfield. Well, yeah, that's a half day, and you had a para in your classroom all day long. And
and they're there,
And-
yeah, and there's, I
SPED can't
There's
do that
16 total kids
because
in
we
that
don't have
classroom
enough
versus
paras to
23.
support all that.
mean, it's a totally different.
Yeah, it's a lot of
environment. I
things.
get that. So that's something that we can talk about. I think there's two things that are gonna influence that, and one is gonna be money. I think finances are gonna be an issue, especially when we're dealing with declining enrollment. It's gonna be harder and harder. The other issue is, even if we have the money, we gotta find the bodies to put in there. I mean, I think Drew has done a really good job this year of getting more staff. I mean, we're better than we've been in the last probably 3 or 4 years for sure. I mean, but we still got a long ways to go to be fully staffed. And our number one priority has been special education because of the legal ramifications of that. And so I'm not opposed to that. I mean, we have intervention pairs and we have other pairs out there that are paid for out of like title funds and bilingual funds, and I don't know what other funds you're talking about. Like, there's a lot of other funds, but we pay for it. But we've got to get the bodies in there. I mean, and that I think is probably our biggest struggle.
I think we have a program right now.
We used, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
When I was at VO, we had a kindergarten one, and this was heck, almost 20 years ago, but we had two kindergarten teachers that shared a para, and they just went back and forth between those two classrooms all day long. And that was great. Well, if you go to VO today, I think they've got two paras that are in the building that are not special education parents, and we had a ton when I was there. I mean, one, title funding has gradually decreased every year. Bilingual funding has gradually decreased, and then when we see our declining enrollment, I mean, we just can't afford to keep a lot of those people, and so we've just had a lot of attrition, but I wouldn't be opposed to it if we could make it happen.
Isn't there some sort of, I mean, I'm not at the high school, so I'm not sure, but, Levi alluded to some sort of a program where the
The
high
LIFT
school
program.
kids are getting time as a para. Is there some sort of partnership we can maybe look at developing with the community college and seeing if
We've done that.
we had
We,
handful?
yeah, when I was in, when I was the director of SPED, we had a few that we hired from the college, and I know they were all around in the leap rooms, and it's just hard because
They're in and
they can
out
give you
and
2 hours
everything.
here, they can give you 2 hours there, and so you try to get 2 or 3, 4 bodies together to fill that position, but
It's hard.
the consistency is just tough.
Yeah.
At least with the high school, they've got a consistent schedule. You'll know you're gonna have them from this time to this time, and you're gonna have them every day. In college, you get them, they can come on Tuesday and Thursday, but they're not gonna be there Monday, Wednesday, or Friday.
Because honestly, what's happening right now is we have 6th grade students who are ahead on their interventions and they go help the kindergarten, which I think is great.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
like-
that's good for them to be role models. for
Yeah,
sure.
they love it, but like
Yeah, we have the same thing.
like almost anything would be, like better,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. Yeah, we can sure
Actual
look at
adult
that.
meeting.
I'm not opposed to that.
We'll skip the 5th, 6th grade discussion.
Yeah, you're gonna be knocking on that door next year, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, Tracy will be there 5th grade.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's not as scary. I
Yeah.
was
Everything
terrified
as a
by
parent is
2020.
scary. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Another thing we wanted to bring up is we agreed to a committee last year. Should not say agreed. We talked about committee, putting that in board policy. Where do we stand on that discipline review committee for the?
Oh, you know what, Levi? I honestly forgot about it. That's my bad. We
Yeah.
probably,
Well, I mean, I kind of thought that was the case, and I'm not trying to
I
call you out at all.
apologize.
In my mind, it seems like a great place to have those behavior specialists and social workers being part of that.
Absolutely.
Having that as part of their responsibilities and being able to report back to their buildings.
Yeah.
Be able to share some of that information and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I think that would be a great place to include them.
Yeah, let's, when we get done, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can start that. I'm not yet.
Anything else? Well, then we'd like to caucus.
Okay,
What's it? 5:21, say 5:31?
okay. Here. That would be number.
I'm just
Lost it.
on a computer.
Number one, that's the second sentence.
Staff meetings should follow a planned agenda and should be included portion of reserved for maximum of 2 staff meetings per month. Yeah.
I don't think anything else needs to be changed, I think just that's it. Yeah.
So we could probably just eliminate that whole sentence.
Just that one,
Just cancel it.
I got it.
Okay. I wanna make it look like I'm doing something.
Well, then
too.
maybe you should bring out your.
I think I set it down. I set it down somewhere, because it's always in my pocket.
I gave Jessica the purple.
Yeah.
So I've got green and orange and yellow, I think a bunch of things, that's cool.
We'll see how he trusted you to catch that.
Thanks, Drew.
I didn't trust
Randy?
Randy. Randy's
with that?
abstaining. He likes to make you guys' jobs a little bit harder. Alright. Okay. Secure that. Let's go, since it's in the same area. Delayed start. Or sorry, emergency closings, section G, same,
31.
page 31, should be right next to it. So this is having to do with delayed start, since that came up this year. Revision to bullet 2. The start of school with delayed certified employees are required to report to work no later than 20 minutes before the adjusted start time. The principal may request volunteers to arrive earlier to assist with student supervision. If certified employees anticipate arriving later than this required time due to extenuating circumstances, they must notify the building with an estimated arrival time as soon as possible. Basically, how it says it right now, it needs that certified employees should report to work as close to regular duty time as possible. We think that's vague and it's causing some issues between principals and certified staff. And so we would like to just make that much clearer, that if we push it back to 11, they have to be there at 10:40.
Okay, so let me show you my only concern with that.
I know what you're gonna do.
One, we don't do this very often, so. And the only time I see us doing this, moving forward is, when you have situations where, like this year, we're running out of snow days, so hopefully we don't have any more. We're gonna be spending a little bit more time with each other, at the end of the school year. My concern with this is, oftentimes these kiddos are still gonna show up. And they're gonna show up oftentimes when school starts. And if the principal's the only person in the building and they've got 150 kids, that's not safe for kids.
You have 100 kids?
I'm just giving an example. And some of the bigger buildings,
That's
yeah,
fair.
is Eda Sharma gonna have that? No.
Right.
Is Charles Stone's gonna have that?
Yeah.
That's very possible.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
when you've
but I
got 400 or 500 kids, I mean,
Where it
Forest Good, I guarantee you, they
Or
will.
volunteers, principal may request volunteers to arrive earlier.
And what if they don't get volunteers? Because if you're saying I don't have to be there until 20 minutes before, who's gonna volunteer to come into work before they have to? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm looking at this through the lens of an administrator. And
Let's just pay them.
safety
let them
of the
pay them for
kiddos, I mean,
breakfast.
I think there is definitely a split here that I can see, and I knew that, like I said, I knew this was gonna be the issue. I will tell you that I have principals tell me that this caused a problem for them. And they did not want to email
right,
teaching staff, be here as close to the time as possible. They wanted to be able to email. No, just like, sure, your time, come to school. And so.
And I will say that the way
I think
that,
that's a split between grade levels, but.
yeah, 100%. And I will say that the way that happened that day, it would not be how that typically would happen. I mean, we're not gonna actually have kids at school when we make that decision like we did this year.
Right.
You know,
Right.
The good thing about this though is that if it's due to bad weather, there's no like worry about people like. Because, yeah, like when they should be there. Whereas the way it previously reads, like a principal, may worry about somebody who's not there. Should have been there an hour ago.
Your way to add in there, just to give a little bit of authority to this principal that if no volunteers are received, then they can use, somebody's gonna be voluntold.
How many buildings have a lead teacher? Cause I think you and I might be the same.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
thinking BLT.
Every building should have a lead teacher.
Do they?
Grade level lead
No,
teacher
no,
or like a
like a
school?
lead, a head
Well, and
teacher,
is
like
that,
Jillian's your head
It's
teacher.
usually the
oh,
coach.
yeah.
Jillian would be your head teacher,
Lisa Kate.
Lisa's yours.
Or they
What if
call
you
them.
feel bad, something like that, and like your head teacher, you are getting paid more, head teacher.
Well, it's yeah, they want.
Let's call it 6 minutes. We'll just come back at an even time. How's that?
Oh, we're not coming.
You scamming this Sunday?
Drew, did you pause it?
No, maybe we should talk. I'm not willing to work for about 20 hours, so.
All summer?
Yeah, I mean, except for the week I'm gone for nationals.
Okay,
I am.
so we would like to change the 20 minutes to 120 minutes,
Ah.
but we would like to change it to 30 minutes.
Just cause it's a extraordinary day where they may have to like, alter.
And I would say, I don't think we need to put this in the agreement, but it needs to be understood that lead teachers, because they are getting a supplemental contract, will be expected to be there to help.
Well, I think.
If the principal asks,
Well,
Okay, so you still wanted to say volunteers?
we don't need,
May request volunteers and the volunteer that they're gonna request is the.
May
lead teacher.
request lead teacher to arrive earlier?
I was gonna say, I think if you want the lead teacher to be part of that, that needs to either be in the negotiating unit, or you gotta talk to principals and make sure that's clear.
and that's what we were gonna talk to principals, we'll talk to them, yeah.
But I think we should probably leave
'Cause every year-
volunteers, just in case the lead teacher's not available,
Yeah.
we need to call someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree
like,
with
yeah,
that.
the lead teacher's like, yeah, we can do that.
Um,
So I would say
We'll set the expectation, principals know that that's their first call.
I think it might need to be in the negotiating, Josh, just because, yes, they're getting paid in there, but I want to avoid. I mean, the negotiating still applies to those teachers, right? So I wanna avoid the situation where they are gonna bring agreements because of this expectation.
Okay.
I think if that's the solution we're gonna agree on, I do think it needs to be in there.
Okay,
So the principal may, I think we should leave may in there, the principal may require the lead teacher or request volunteers to arrive.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So after
Yeah, because if the principal doesn't want to require it, I mean, that's the principal's discretion.
may require their lead
then-
teacher.
the only other thing that
or
I have a concern
request
about,
volunteers
and this is,
choose the 20 to 30.
and this is just me, and I don't know how to fix this, but I'm gonna throw this out to you. The last part there, if a certified employee anticipates arriving later than this required time due to extenuating circumstances, they must notify the building of an estimated arrival time as soon as possible.
Do you feel like that still needs to be in there?
Um,
Since it's now a set time, whereas before it was pretty well open.
that's fair. I mean, I can see it still being in there just because that is the expectation like on a regular day. Like if you're gonna be late, you better let somebody know.
But we don't have that anywhere else in there.
That should be
But I-
given, yeah.
I agree, like, I'm okay with potentially taking that out.
We just think it may encourage people to be later and just call it and say.
Yeah,
I'm going to be there. How do y'all feel about that? Is that fair?
Think so?
They're always gonna have the ones that are gonna skirt the
I
system.
just, yeah,
You know what I mean?
and that's my thing, I don't,
There just is a percentage that will always be.
and I'm not saying that's a lot of people, but
Yeah, no, I mean.
we need to be
I
able
get
to
the
target
concern.
those individuals. And it seems like it's always the same.
And this really doesn't happen that often. I mean,
Correct.
I've been in this district
Yeah.
for a lot of
This
years.
is my 28th year, and I think the
Yeah.
last 20 years, this was the first time we've done that.
Which is crazy, because in Oregon,
We used to do it all the time when I was here, when I first started. But Dr. Ethan, when he came, he didn't believe in it. We've just never done it since Dr. Ethan's time.
Same states.
So, okay, when the start of school is delayed, certified employees are required to work from home. Reading, required to report to work no later than 30 minutes before the adjusted start time. The principal may request
They
or
require
require.
their lead teacher
Is that the,
or
is that the,
request.
is that the specific title?
Yeah.
For lead teacher? Required. Cheers. Good, thank you. Okay, so then take out that last sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can switch over there for me. Yeah. Next one down. That one.
I like it.
Looks good.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Good. Alright.
We just gotta keep this going too.
Yeah, I'm gonna change classified. I wanted to set a specified time for classified too, and so. I just think there's a lot of worry if you don't have a specified time. Somebody outside the road is checking on this sometime. Hey Levi, I didn't vote.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. No, you did, it's a, I still
Well, because it wouldn't let me just put the 90 because I didn't do it.
Why is fringe benefits still yellow? We're going back to that, we just talked about it.
What was that?
Back to it, fringe benefits?
We made a,
We made a
A
proposal
request,
and
but
you
we
guys
didn't
wanted to
vote.
table it. We haven't voted.
Oh,
They
until
just
full
told us,
compensation?
yeah.
Okay,
So what you guys are waiting on.
yeah. I just wanted to remember.
Matrix.
Do we need to vote on this one? Do we do a thumbs up on
I
this?
thought,
one?
I
Yeah.
did, did you not? Cause I put a yes for you.
He actually did, I saw it.
Oh, there you go.
That's not it. No, the one you're showing me that's red, that's not it.
Negotiate.
Oh, that's because they, that was the original proposal, they're gonna come back with, edit changes at some point, right, guys, that's the list.
Yeah.
I should probably put it, no, you're good.
Yeah, we just gotta get the updated. No, we talked about it.
Anyways, wanna do sick bank, PD council appointments, reassignments, transfers.
For me, the only request we have is to bring the date of buying in up to September 1st or within the first 30 days of employment for those that start.
Not the second part, but September 1st isn't there.
Yeah, we just
Well,
thought,
that-
we do have like Philippine teachers that like this year came like throughout the semester, and so like with the way it was worded, they weren't eligible to put a day in until semester.
That makes sense, yeah, but that's a good change. We do have a few more changes from that. Alright, if that's what you want. Oh.
I tried to hold punch all of them and he just
Sorry,
can't.
I will hold punch off, no, that's all it is. So first, you can see the changes at the top. All the other language in there are our proposed changes, but the big changes are at the top. So one of these is a call for days. Multiple districts do have a call for days, such as Dodge City. They actually have a call for days, they dropped a little, was it 50 or 50, and then call for days is triggered, and then certified employees must stay in another half day. Well, for them, it'd be a full day. For us, we would prefer for a half day if staff want access still. I'm not sure if we're ever gonna run out of days considering a new system, but I think trying to be proactive to try to avoid that scenario.
Do you know if Dodge still don't, like, does their board still give days too?
They do, yes. If there's a call for days, they would ask, the board asks for another 50. And we do not have that in our NARS. We're not asking for more days.
How many do they start with, and how many people are going on?
Their specific board contribution is not annual.
Oh,
So ours is annual, theirs is like
everyone's
whenever they need, they add 50. I don't know if that works out in their favor or not. I actually have no idea how often they do call for days, but.
Okay.
And then the second change is, so in there it says 5 consecutive days in order to be eligible for the sick bank. We would like to reduce that number of required unpaid days to 3. And days may not be consecutive, but must be for the same illness or injury. And I forget who had the example, was it you, Amber? Gave the example?
Yeah, one of them was for me, when I had my surgery in the fall, I had a doctor's appointment 2 weeks following when I went back to school. I didn't have any days, and I'd already asked for my 5 days. And I really only wanted 2, but I had to ask for 5. I would have gone back to work after 2 days, but I had to ask for 5, so I took more days off, which was fine. It was still within like 4 to 6 weeks that the doctor asked me to take off. But yeah, if it had allowed me to only ask for 2 or 3 days, then I would have. And then I needed another follow-up appointment a few weeks later and I had to take.
So we just identified it as like, a lot of the reasons people are having to take sick bank often is gonna require follow-up appointments, and they're out of days, so they're gonna be taking a full day, no pay for those types of things, or at least half day. And then the last point, there was just extend the sunset clause for another year. We would like 2 years of data to look back on.
2 year, like, so
So
for
we would
next
just
year
extend
and
it,
the following year, or just
Well,
for next year?
just for
and
next year, but-
revisit again next year?
can I ask a question on A?
Yeah.
If the bank goes to less than 20 days, the call for days is triggered and you must donate another half. Are we talking each semester? Because we're breaking it up by semesters.
We do get those less than 20 days. for this.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So teachers could be actually donated in a whole nother extra day. If
If
that's
they
the
have to
case.
both semesters, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
Especially if it's like me.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna get a lot of love there.
Yeah, like- I'll be good.
Okay. And then B, we're reducing it to 3 unpaid days.
The way it's currently worded, you have to have, if the illness or injury has to be so severe, it has to be at least 5 days to take sick bank
Ask
days.
from the sick bank.
Yeah, to ask from the sick bank. That's good.
Oh, and so, okay.
So on A, is the call for more days only for those people that are already in the bank?
We had that question as well. We asked our city and they said, no, it's everybody for them, for certified employees. We are open to both ways, but the way we wrote it here is for all certified employees.
So,
All employees can get into the bank though.
If there's a call, yes.
If there's a call.
so,
It's
kinda
so
like a-
September 1st, I don't donate my day, to get in, I don't donate that day before September 1st, before that date. But let's say November, we have a call for days. I've not donated there, but if I donate a half a day, then I'm in the bank.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair to the teachers that donated their day up front.
That's why I said it, that's why I said we're open to it, potentially. Our system is like.
I would have a hard time donating a half a day for, you know what I mean?
People that didn't donate in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, the reason we said all certified employees is because often what ends up happening is like someone in the building is sick, everybody in the building knows they're sick, we need days off, y'all don't have days now, right? And they get a little bit of incentive to do that as well, because they know it's going to a certain person, that sort of thing. But like I said, I'm not completely glued to that idea.
Is the rest of it is, so this is just all the verbiage, but the
Yeah.
changes are here, you just highlighted. them.
Yeah,
Where they
hopefully you
would
can see
go.
the changes, okay, but yeah, all the verbiage is here.
Copies for 10?
This is your.
616 or 617?
That'll work.
Or not, I do this every time, I'm like, I feel like we just automatically goes.
You're more than, if that's more than, you gotta do it. Okay.
Pause it?
Yeah,
we have to pause it.
You know how to do it, Levi?
Pause the
No.
thing, somebody pause the
Do you know how to do it?
Doing it.
thing.
I'll tell Drew, I don't know how to do it.
I tried to get his attention, but he didn't.
I know how.
Button over there somewhere.
Do you know how to do it, Russ?
Yeah, Drew showed me.
Okay.
I have.
Wanna bring one of those tables over every time?
I'm gonna do it for you then.
I'm failing, I've got a commitment, I have to get to it.
So you have to deal with
Is this your wife?
Drews is a table now. Yeah, you may regret that decision, now you're gonna let somebody tap in.
So much easier.
Randy, will you get a hold of Chance and let him know what I asked you?
She's the boss of champs.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready? All right,
No, are we?
on C, agreed on the sunset. So we're good there. I'm gonna work up. B, you would like to keep it at 5, but not make them have to be consecutive, just for the sake of it. And then A. So because the days are broken by semester, correct?
Yep.
We would like there to be no call in the first semester. If the first semester runs short, we take from second semester days. Now, if the second semester runs short, we agree to a one-time call-in. Anybody can donate that half day, but only people that originally opted in by September 1 or within the 30 days are eligible to give the days. So I can be, if I didn't originally put in a full day, I can be generous because I know Amber needs days. I can give a half day, but I can't request days. So that's what we came up with.
So essentially, just to be clear, eliminate the split semester.
We'd still have
It's
the
still
split.
the split, but if first semester dropped below 20 days, we don't call in, we just borrow if needed. If it fell below 0, somebody requested 5 days, we just take that from that pool.
Do we wanna put a maximum on that or something? Well, I guess,
Otherwise, then you don't need this.
yeah, what's the split for, right? Like if we're just gonna borrow it, if it comes down there, you know what I mean?
Fiscal year is why.
Yeah, a split does make sense, like the intent of the split is so that people in March have the same opportunity for days as somebody in November.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a max. So that people still have, well, I don't know, because they're gonna have days available if the call in.
But assuming that people actually don't call. If people don't donate to the call.
Well, and maybe this will help with that. An idea we had, because we had the same concerns about whether it's certified employees or whatever. And I understand this might cause some accounting issues, but Drew loves to give you work and he's at the table now, so.
I'm glad other people
Don't you
recognize
know?
that, thank you.
Everybody's just starting going to the bus.
We were thinking, what if the call for days, if you did donate already, you only have to give a half day because you have access to it. But if you have not donated already, you have to give a full day at the call for days,
If you want it.
if you want it.
I struggle with that though,
About 1.5.
because I
That
think,
would be equal to what
That
you
would
guys
be
are
equal.
doing.
Yeah, but we
That's a
already
lot.
gave a day, right? Like, I don't know, but yeah.
my struggle with that is,
Shared days, I don't know why we're even negotiating
yeah,
it, but.
I just think from a sense of fairness, that's where I struggle with that. So I don't donate a day, but now I've become sick and we're out, and so all I gotta do is donate the day in November. I don't think that's fair to the people that made the commitment in September, not knowing that. And I'm not trying to punish anybody, but from a fairness standpoint, that's,
Yeah,
Only thing we had thought is that most of those cases would kind of solve themselves, because if you became sick, you probably won't have days to donate. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you might want to at that point, but you already used all your days.
yeah, I mean, I do think there are some equity issues that we recognize as well.
I don't know.
I didn't, could you go over A again for me, Jessica?
So our original thought was that first semester, there's no call for days. If there's a need for days, we steal them from second semester. And then when, in the second semester, if it goes less than 20, we do a call for days. Only those that originally opted in are eligible for the additional days, but anybody can donate a half a day.
How many people donated days?
222.
So-
I like your idea of a cap, Levi. I do like that.
I do as well, just in case there's like significant, it eliminates what we were trying to do with the split by giving the second semester fair chance.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We also recognize as we were talking now that like the way we are splitting up the semester is much different than Dodge. Dodge just does a full rollover every year. And so the call per day is like, it just makes sense because it's, you know, one time over. And so we're kind of mashing two systems together, makes it a little bit more difficult. What do you have?
We also saw another,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought of one thing. So whether we end up agreeing on 1 or 2 call for days by semester, I think we also need to add verbiage that if we called in for days, like those aren't necessarily gonna be turned into monetary value for the health reserve. Because it's above and beyond what we're initially projecting.
Then, would you suggest those roll over if there are more?
I don't know, I just think it could get, I don't know.
I didn't think about that.
Go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, she noticed something that I neglected to put into this.
Okay.
So please forgive me.
so on the eligibility for participation, number 3. This is the illness or injury suffered by the certified employee or certified employee's spouse or child. Right after child, we wanted to say, or a person for whom the certified employee is a direct caregiver. So in our example for that, if you don't mind, is Linda's dad is experiencing some health issues right now. She has 1 day left, but she doesn't know when his surgery is gonna be. And it might take more than 1 day that she has left, but she's his caregiver, like he lives with her and she has to be there. So
So not necessarily immediate family.
So-
It's just, we would just take the employee's word that they are the.
That's a number 3.
yes.
Well, I know once again, we have this instance with my family, like my daughter who lives in Colorado, she had to get a form signed for her job, stating that she is up there now taking care of him in the hospital, since I'm here, because I have no days left, and so.
Something
I don't know if we
similar.
can get
How does she
some of that.
how did she, that's like the certification,
Well,
who
she's,
the caregiver is?
I guess. I mean,
That's the toughest part is like,
yes.
how do we verify that it's a caregiver?
A note from.
Well, like the doctor, like I had to drop off paperwork for her so that the doctor
Fill it out.
here, because his primary doctor is the one who fills it out, so to say that that's what's taking place, so that way she can get paid. And since she's having to take off all these days. And she's not having to, but I mean, that's.
Would immediate family member make that easier? I mean, I don't know, but,
You want to like that's already covered with.
well,
Yeah,
for our
here in
definition,
define
it's
it's
different.
mother-in-law. Either brother-in-law.
Frankly, that's what we were trying to avoid, because we thought that was too general.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
How did you say, we defined it as mother-in-law, father-in-law,
Brother-in-law.
brother-in-law, sister-in-law, mother, father. So we did pretty much all of them.
It's a pretty big list of immediate families.
Yeah.
There's somewhere it's written, I'm trying to think of where, it may not be in the negotiating agreement, it might be in one of our handbooks. Or like where the employee's presence is required.
Yeah, that's in,
It used to be in the whole, it wasn't like, It was Life Happens. When we had Life Happens, it said, or the employee's presence is required.
Might work.
So like,
So you
Or
say
is it
where
certified
the
employees?
immediate family members where the employee's presence is required. That's what we used to use. And then we did the same thing, we just got doctor's notes saying that their presence was required when we had my conference.
under eligibility. So the illness or injury suffered by the certified employee or certified employee's immediate family where their presence is required.
And take
In
out
the-
spouse and child.
Yeah.
So it does broaden it, but it also defines it by required. Presence required.
Presence is
Like in such situation, their presence is required. How are you guys?
Is that right where it says 35 consecutive school days?
The five's marked
The
out.
5 mark.
Oh,
marked
5
out.
marked out.
I'm sorry.
There's
So
no-
I would say
Woo, that's a lot. I don't know why we're talking about the big, nobody's gonna yell this.
You're never gonna run out of days.
Where we at? What?
I guess.
Manipulated ourselves into something?
What page is
Yeah. Doc. Here, I'm working on the.
Okay. Message.
She's confused. What did you say? She's complaining.
He's been putting them right next to the,
That's the end of it, Bob.
It's there.
not sure.
Keep going. Oh, hit the little 3, yeah. Then scroll it.
There you go. Who'd feel better? Ah.
Disapprove.
Imagine what to say.
Ready?
The bank goes less than 20 days, call it sure.
Let's go, we can come back to A, so we just kind of figured that one out. How do you guys feel about the keep it at 5, but it may not be consecutive? Fair. Fair enough. Fairer. Yeah, we can agree to that one. No,
Are we gonna-
you can. No, it all or none.
Do you wanna cap it? Do we wanna cap it like we're talking about?
Hold on for just a second, she's
We're
on,
we're only on B.
yeah.
Oh,
Should be in the middle.
I thought we were on A.
Cause the 5 days came, that's where it got hurt a little bit.
I think the 5 days wouldn't have caught you though if they didn't have to be consecutive, because you had follow-up,
I only have one.
so you would have got to 4.
But it would have bundled in with the days you took off.
But I didn't take off any other days.
Yeah, I mean,
I had 18.
you wanted to take off 2.
I wanted to take off 2, but I had to take off 5, but if I,
Plus that 1.
like, it still wouldn't have.
You're about the only one.
Who wants to be back in touch?
No, that's had,
That it's been
I
like
did, I
that.
wanted
It's
to.
been like that.
Usually it's,
like all the ones that. just 'cause
Usually
I've
have
seen them.
5, they're just not consecutive.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Like with the follow-ups thing.
Uniform day, or they read.
You can talk about that one.
Yeah, go to the other one.
No worries. Okay, so then the cap for, so borrow from the second semester, what'd you say, 25%?
25% of,
Okay, good.
No more than 25%.
no more than 25%.
First one. Okay, I like the cap. The concern I have with the second semester is like, if it's March, people are gonna be like, this.
What was the plan for the days that you donate, but then they don't roll over, they don't go into
Oh, yeah.
the fringe benefit?
So-
Why do they happen?
So, second semester, so it would only happen second semester, right? If it dropped below 0 or
Below 20.
below 20, like let's say it dropped to 19 and 30 people. So now we're at 49 days, but we only use 19, like those are all extra. I guess if it still rolls into the health reserve, it still benefits all employees. So it's their days. I'd say they could still be turned monetary. Because then it offsets any.
I have a relevant question, that's not the word I'm looking for. Did you change the sick thing for everybody else in the same manner?
Yes, we did.
And for going to the health fund and everything?
Yeah, I'm good with it still going to the health reserve now, after thinking about it. Still days that the teachers or staff is giving up, so
Okay.
there's still value there.
All right, so thanks for a couple of days, one of those original, we have to donate 1 day, right, in the second semester? Or was it half day still? I can't remember.
Half day.
Half day, okay. Second semester, we have 12 days, 4 days, 2 remain. So I'm at the-
Yeah.
I'm not writing the language, I'm just putting notes in. I'll write the language and bring it back next time.
Sounds good.
That works. Must be donated. And can you go to the opportunity for our,
What was it?
does that capture the spirit of what we're capturing? Oh, 25%.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because
We steal them from second semester.
At a
I think we should keep steal them
At a maximum
in the
20%.
verbiage, I
So
like
yeah,
that.
if the bank goes less than 20 days in the first semester, second day allotment will be used.
Very confusing.
Now you're writing official language.
25%.
We steal the maximum.
It sounded nice though when you said it, so.
Sure, it was real nice, I just can't make it fit within my nonsense here.
25%.
Stealing from the second semester.
Okay, stealing nice.
Still sounds
I'm
kind
just
of
gonna.
harsh.
Hey.
Reallocate, we reallocate.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
what I
Whatever.
Lame.
He said he was rewriting.
We're trying to spruce up the NA a little bit so people will read it.
Levi's got some
We talk
writing
about
skills,
synonyms
so.
in second grade for a reason, okay?
It would be kind of fun to go through and put in some
Repurpose.
Repurpose would be a good one.
crazy.
So why am I using money?
Right.
Right, if this
And we
was
are doing
formatted,
budget slam next, so.
if this was
it as poetry, maybe people would read it more or less.
I don't wanna be it.
Does that capture the spirit?
A bank goes less than 20 days.
No, that's the other one.
Are you, what is A though?
That's what we
Oh,
initially
well,
thought.
this is our
That's
initial,
theirs.
but yeah, I'll strike this out.
Yep, I think we get the word. That's the right idea.
We're good with September first, you guys are good with that?
Yeah. I already included that in there because I knew it was coming.
Do you wanna put or within 30 days of
Oh,
employment?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
September first. This is suggestion. Change. 30 days of what?
Okay.
Do we add that to the class?
Whichever comes first.
Whichever, well, what if they're hired like
Well, that's true, yeah.
August 27th?
Yeah, that makes, yeah, that would be pretty harsh on Jess, I guess.
Negotiations.
Thumbs up, let's go.
We're
All of it.
Agree principle, sure, and then I'll write the language for further agreements next time. Oh, yeah, we gotta talk about B. That's right, we're gonna caucus about B. We gotta go back, we can't vote on it yet. Thank you. 10 minutes.
I'd like to go ahead.
Thank you for the matter. Not that Amber wasn't already elbowing me three times.
I did?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Okay. Love you.
Don't forget the voice.
Say hi to Lauren, is that what it was?
Don't forget the voice. Yes.
Don't forget to pause the video.
I don't know that anybody ever unmuted it.
Nice.
Nothing.
That is the most eerie feeling. On a cruise.
Oh.
In the forest.
That's how it is in New Mexico. You can't see it.
So we had a couple of things, I don't think two of them will change anything, but you guys maybe will, I'm not sure. Instead of a maximum of 25% from second semester, would you guys be okay just doing 25 days? Just call it 25 days, is that okay?
Yep.
But actually, but for you, because then you don't have to calculate it every year.
Well, that's where the thing is, like, it's gonna cause an issue
It's
with
gonna
like,
change every year.
yeah, so. And then because it's second semester only, I think someone mentioned earlier, maybe we just skipped over it. You wanna lower that 20 days down to 10, that shall trigger at 10 days
Yes.
instead of 20.
I think that makes more sense.
So I think so too. I need the math person to come talk to me about this. And then the last, so if you guys were all good with those two, last one is,
You just nickel and dime it over here.
Sure.
Jess, I'm gonna yield to you because that's more your area of expertise than mine.
Remember this.
You get that recorded.
Yeah.
for. Thumbs up, everybody. It is somehow. Didn't I add a column in here that was date language agreed to? I could have sworn I did that.
Or was that on each tab?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, it's on the template, so I must have done it for a tab earlier.
Oh, I was looking at it. Go to a tab.
It's on like salary schedule.
Is it on salary schedule?
Meeting. Yeah, date tentatively agreed.
And language tentatively agreed? Okay, so I will add it to the template, so we don't have to do that. That way, date, language agreed, because that one, people want to bring that back. And A, the language agreed. Yes. I'll make that a yellow, so, oh, it's already yellow. Color. Alright. Good other one. Hey, not bad, though. What's next?
Just like a little applause.
Reassignment transfers, PD council appointments. We have anything else?
Nope.
You got
Reassignment transfers or PD council?
You guys don't know what you want.
we had stuff for PD council too.
Okay, so you wanna say that for,
But it has to do with compensation, correct?
Yeah, we had ours under compensation for it.
okay, should we save that for that conversation maybe then?
You want
Um,
me to just tell you what we're thinking?
It's gonna get,
Way, you know.
it's gonna get taken care of when
on something.
on supplemental.
Like supplemental.
Okay.
This is different from supplemental part.
Yes, ours is different.
Clarify.
Okay,
Go ahead.
yeah, then go ahead, we can go into
Which
it.
one? PD?
Yeah, why not?
All right, so we did talk about this a little bit last year, for the PD council, and you guys are doing, what it says, like, changing the handbook. Did I pronounce enough for these? I'm sorry.
Thing.
I wonder if my, I ran out of paper here.
I think I still have it when you get to it.
But essentially, we're looking to see if we can have terms on PD council. We're a little concerned when,
We're actually adding that to the handbook.
oh, okay,
Yeah, so it's gonna be very similar to what we're doing with what we're working on is, same thing as like calendar committee, it'll be a 3-year rotation.
that's what we
Is
have.
that what we have, yeah?
Okay,
Yeah, to match calendar committee. And then, so
so,
the middle
and
portion
it works
here-
out really good because we picked up 2 new members last year.
Uh.
We've got 2 members going off this year
Okay.
that we'll elect, and then the folks that come back will do their 3rd year and they'll go off at the end of next year. So it's really clean and it works.
Are you gonna require a 1 year in between?
If somebody quits before their 2-year term.
Well, like on calendar committee, if you serve your 3 years, you have to wait a year till you serve again.
So
Or,
I would say on that one, because it's elected, calendar committee is appointed.
right,
These are elected, so if they get elected again and they're, you guys are the ones that are electing them, I'm okay with them
then you're
coming
okay,
back.
okay, that's what I want.
That's where my head's at, but you guys, if you
I'm
have,
okay with that.
We did talk about if like somebody's in their 2-year to keep the cycle, like then they're only there for the remainder of that
Just to
term.
fulfill
We
it.
have that language in there as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
I'm not on the purchase, but on the calendar committee, I remember we added that language last year specifically because of that reason. We came
yeah,
back.
and that's all in the, those are all changes that we're making in the handbook.
What did you say?
Okay.
So like if it's a 2-year term and somebody leaves after a year, their replacement's only a year, not a
Yeah,
2-year.
the other thing that we have in the handbook is if they reclassify grades, then they forfeit their seat on, their membership on
Like
it.
if they go from
Because that was an
elementary to
issue.
Because that
secondary.
becomes a problem.
Right.
Because then if you go from middle school to high
Who you're
school,
representing.
then all of a sudden, there's 2 high school reps.
It's not good.
Or multiple, more than 2 high school reps, 3.
Well, here's what I'll ask, is that you're getting a lot of what we've been wanting anyways. And if, it's up to you. I would like something in the negotiated agreement that represents the PD council in some way. What that looks like, I'm open to.
The council's gonna have to start to work, it should be in the negotiation.
Hey,
Put that in there.
put that in the
Must.
first sentence.
Must
Um,
earn
Must earn
compensation.
compensation.
Yeah.
Must earn $1,000 per hour.
I'll tell you why, like, the feedback we get on the calendar committee is very much specific, targeted feedback, like, I don't like this specific.
Yes.
The feedback we get on these other committees is like, who do I contact, who represents us, like, people know who's on the calendar committee, they have no idea who's on like PD council, because it's not.
So we need to advertise that more and
We
get
just
that
need it on the
information in front of people.
website. I mean, we
It needs to
need,
be
Well, so one of the
spot
things,
people who
and it's
don't
really
have
funny because Heather and I talked about this very thing today. Heather's working on, we have to update our 5-year plan and handbook, and so they had PD council tonight, and so they were meeting on that. And so she had some questions for me. One of the things that I told her is, we've got folks that are on PD council that are making a pretty good money. We have PD council. They need to be doing, in my opinion, and I don't mean that to sound mean, but they need to be involved more. They need to be involved more. So like on PD days, you know, Heather and Michelle are always scrambling around, trying to get all the people where they need to go. We need to get, and I haven't told Drew this yet, but we need to get name tags like this for PD council members. And they need to be at the front doors, meeting all of our presenters when they go in, taking them. They need to be there the night before helping set up. They need to be a part of all of those things,
my bag's over
you know.
Name tags.
here.
So, I mean, those are all things that I think we need to
Yeah,
do.
and I think that's all super fair, and we are welcome to all of that, absolutely, you will not get pushback from us on that. We would, I don't know what this looks like, but we would just like some type of outline of what that looks like in the negotiation agreement. And maybe it's very simple, but, and I'm asking.
So, I guess my concern with that, the only pushback I would give you to that, Levi, is
Oh, staff and curriculum.
So- the structure of PD council has changed significantly. Heather's finding this out because the structure for KISA has changed and they're trying to mirror those two. That stuff changes all the time at the state level. If we put that negotiated agreement, it's hard for us to keep up with those changes.
I mean, I'm even open to saying like contingent on keys of changes, like I'm good with like having the flexibility to make those changes
Okay.
on a regular basis. I want something to negotiate agreement, so that way when we give it to our members, we're like, okay,
Can I make
this is
a,
how,
can I make a
this is
recommendation?
supposed to run the negotiation, yes.
Draft some language and bring it to me and let us discuss it next meeting. I
Okay,
think that'd probably be the best way to do that, because
I can try, I just don't know what.
I don't know. I
You
don't
need
know.
to bring what
You have the-
we have too,
And we could bring Heather, maybe and have her kind of present and go over kind of what she's been working, what her and the committee council have been working on. I can have her share that with you all.
Do you have an updated handbook that,
They're working on that too.
Okay.
They have to make changes to the handbook as they're making changes to
well, yeah, I get it.
all that.
and we have to have that approved by the state.
Yes, that has to be approved by the state.
So that's part of the problem with putting stuff in
Is
there.
there a board policy about? Take a look at.
There is a policy.
There is a proposal.
Let's say what you just said again.
That's one of the problems with whenever we put things into the negotiated agreement. Because everything has to, our PD handbook has to be approved by the state.
There's state
So-
statute. I mean,
So if state statute, like you said, if state statute changes and we're past negotiations, regardless of whether it's in the handbook or not, we're gonna have to change it.
Yeah,
because one of the other
Or in
things,
the agreement or not, we're gonna have to change it to align with state statute.
one of the things that.
well, state statute overrules.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, one of the things that she said is they're being really strict too on your PDC points, like if they don't tie specifically to your goals and district goals and all those things, they're kicking those points out, which 99% of the teachers are gonna have way more points than, so I've got 5,000 points and I only need 1,200 to renew, and if you kick out 500 points, it's not gonna affect anything, but the state's being a lot stricter about.
What's the biggest thing that you guys need?
Yeah, I guess what is the
Well-
concern?
Well, I think that,
No, let it go.
the group, especially for special education, you only have one, it says one certified person. Well, you really need a person for special education for all the different levels. You know, you've got those that are in LEAP, you got those that are in RISE, you've got, that PD is totally different than resource and CWC.
We have 6.
But
We just
they're,
have one.
right, you're
Oh.
required to have one, but
No,
they're-
remember, this is our language,
Oh, okay.
this is not their reading
Oh,
council, this is our
oh.
suggestion of like the pool they should pull from. That's okay.
how many people are on?
6.
Yeah, right now we have
You have
six. So
2
you're-
elementary, you have two
you're
middle
quadrupling.
school, which middle school would
Sped
be,
specific.
middle school would
What's
be,
that?
would be
Special education.
intermediate and middle school, and then you have
We
2
have
high school.
6 total.
For special education.
No, 6
total.
total.
Oh, total. Committee.
So we're
Total
quadrupling
committee.
the number of people.
Oh, okay.
On,
Didn't understand that, sorry.
so we're quadrupling the number of,
Just a big group to get to agree.
well, it's
That's the other-
also quadrupling the budget for.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm the one thinking about it. Buddy, go ahead.
Well, one of them doesn't get paid. I'm
Yeah.
so confused.
Yeah,
One
Curriculum council,
doesn't get paid?
Correct.
Well, let's just make that.
Well.
Make that one the one
Would
that's
the
big.
district, would the district level admin get paid extra
No.
favor? Yeah.
none of them,
No,
it's
no,
just,
some
it's just
will
the
go straight.
teachers, the teachers
Yeah.
are the only ones that get paid, so.
Well-
Like, technology usually has a person on there, I think.
Well, there needs to be a special education person on that committee, period. I don't know if there is or not, because, I mean.
No.
Because half the time, there ain't
Trying to
nothing
think.
for special education people unless you're a Leap or Rice. What about resource? What about CWC? What about all those other areas? I mean, I know resource and CWC are pretty much the same. But
So-
they're at different levels for high school, middle school.
I will tell you that one of the struggles that we have, I don't disagree with you, we've worked really, really hard this year to try to get PD more tailored towards individual needs. It's a nightmare. I mean,
There's so many.
there are so many groups out there. I mean, when you say that, I don't disagree with you, but it is hard. I mean, like you get to the high school, there's 50 different groups right there that you
Right.
gotta think about professional development for. And so what Levi needs is gonna be completely different than what Amy's gonna need at the high school, and that's gonna be different than what Russ is gonna need.
And how
I
many
mean,
times do they meet a year right now?
The big thing we've, every month.
Yeah,
Is it once a month or twice a month?
What's that?
PD.
PD?
How often do they not?
Oh, PD council, yes, they meet once a month. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking how many PD days that we have.
I am.
Yeah. they meet
Because
once a
then,
month.
like, right now, the big issue we're running into, so we hired social workers, one thing social workers need is continuing education points. The problem with the continuing education points is their continuing education points are different than school counseling continuing education points. And then you have the psychologist, and then you have the speech paths, and then you have the OTs, and then you have the PTs. And then they're going,
Yeah.
why didn't you do professional development for us? And at first, when I was at the high school, I'm like, why were we doing for, and then I got up there and I'm like, how do you
How
even
can
do
you?
it?
Yeah,
When it's
It's
like
hard.
that, and that's why I say PD council's gonna have to start earning their money, because if we are gonna offer valuable professional development to people, it's not gonna be driven by Heather and Dr. Duncan, by Ms.
I mean,
Damon and Dr. Duncan.
in my mind,
It's not
it's-
possible.
we identify what our board goals are. We identify what we want to focus on, working with the board. And then that's the box that we work within, and then we figure out what that PD looks like moving forward.
Do you see adding more people to the PD council as helpful
No.
or not helpful?
No,
I,
for two reasons. Two reasons I say that. One, that's one, but even more important, you get too many people in the room, it's hard to get a consensus on anything. You know what I mean? There's a sweet spot that you need to have with committees.
is there any option for people to like, who maybe know there's typically not something for them to submit
So,
their PD, like what they want to do as an option, like maybe they want to do.
yeah,
online?
absolutely. We get that all the
How far in
time.
advance does that need to be submitted
There's-
to an in-service day? Cause like,
There is a timeline for that. I
Okay, so
don't
for
know what
example,
that
like-
is, Tracy.
I waited until the schedule came out, saw it, which is only a week before, and I'm like, okay, none of that really is library stuff, and then I requested to like do online training, got told no, cause, so I was like,
Yeah,
like if there was a process, cause there's, people who would probably.
yeah, no, I don't disagree. And honestly, if we get that, I mean, we try to work with people as long as it's gotta kind of fall into,
Yeah.
board goals and things like that, but,
Yeah. And like, does the training have to be the day of in-service, if someone has one they want to go to out of town 2
That
months
would be
before?
I mean, we were gonna bring flexible dates as well.
Yeah.
At some point.
and we've scheduled a release date.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought that was just for that one bit, I was thinking for like any instance.
Well,
You have professional days in your building that you can request from your principal.
Yeah,
she means the release date.
I mean, having it count
yeah, it's
Okay.
gotta be,
as your,
it's gotta be outside of contract though, is the key to that. if you're gonna
yes,
count.
yeah, so if it was outside of contract.
And so that's something
I get
we're
what
gonna
you're
work on next year for that release date. I mean, when I first started here, we had all kinds of professional development that was offered in the evenings. You'd have Saturday morning professional development, you'd have a lot of that, well, because we got release time for that, and there was a lot of really good stuff. But nobody wants to go, and
And it was all teacher driven
it
because
was all teacher driven. They're the ones that created that, they're the ones that,
Yeah, like right now, I
I
can
love
think
that.
of two that I would offer to do
yeah,
as PD.
Yeah.
If- Yeah.
You get double points for doing PD?
and service to the profession,
So I do, and now you say that, I remember going to a couple of those
yeah.
when I was here.
Yeah, let me.
Can I share kind of what we would like to do, and it's gonna, like you said, are you okay with sharing that? I mean, so what we would like to do, what I would like to do, the other thing is, curriculum council is a big job too. And they don't get any love, there's no money there. And so I would like to propose that we split that supplemental in half.
It's not really splitting. it
It's
up.
Well-
it's a 5 and we'd like to make them 3s.
Yeah, make them both threes,
Kind of split it
and
in
so,
half,
and then
Rounding up.
curriculum council has a ton of people, and we never fill any of those positions. I'd like to pull that number down to a realistic, manageable number. And then, pay the folks for that time too, because I think we could probably get more participation in
I
curriculum council.
love
if we do
that idea, but on the other side of that, you're saying you wanna ask PD council to do more and then wear their name tags and be required, but you're gonna lower their pay?
Hold on. PD council doesn't do,
Do you know what
I think I figured the dollar per hour.
Yeah, the dollar per hour.
It's,
astronomical, like
unbelievable.
$180
Russ needs to go do
per
that
day,
before
or
we
per
do.
hour, $180 per hour.
For what they're due now, but
Correct.
you're going to ask them to do
Not
more.
that much more.
It's not gonna be that much.
It's not gonna be that much more.
They may only make $60 an hour, $80 an hour.
I see like what you're
Yeah,
getting at,
people
but
could
yeah,
be like,
they'll still be fairly
It'll be
compensated.
fairly
When
compensated.
we looked at the S3, it's still a good wage for what is gonna be
Because we have
expected
so
of
many
them.
building days now, we have so many, we're entering this flex day. Like the number of district days compared to what we've used to have.
And if you think about next year, so secondary level, 2 days are gonna be out of it, right? So there's,
Right now, letters is all elementary.
and elementary,
So
majority of
they're-
our folks are doing letters, and so there's not a lot of
Planning.
planning that you're gonna have to do. I mean, there's gonna be some work to be done like the night before, the day of kind of thing, but outside of that, I don't see that being a ton of work.
I mean, every single elementary person that was on professional development council, all we did all year was letters. So they didn't have to do anything.
Unless they were leaders, yeah, there were like 50 of them, 40 of them. So that's what we would like to do. And that was the only thing that we had on there, which that does need to go to.
So,
something else.
I know, Meyer sent me a list today of everybody's comments, actually could be a committee.
That's like a deadline to like.
Well, it's a really funny story about that, so after that meeting that
You and your
night,
stories.
you must have went and said something to Matt the next day, cause he called me and was like, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I told him about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did, I saw him in the hallway the other day, I was like, hey, just FYI, this is coming your way. All right, last, we don't need to go into anything else.
Do you guys want me to have Heather come and go over,
Um,
are there specific things you want me to have her talk about? Or do you wanna just come up with language and
let's go. with
let's,
language
and then
see if
kick it
you
around,
can still
kick it around there?
Yeah.
Okay,
You wanna introduce reassignment and transfer so we
Sure, I can do
are
that.
ready to go next time?
And do you wanna propose a number to?
Oh, I'm just erasing that, I'll start fresh.
Okay.
I'll start fresh.
I'm gonna let you keep these. I'm gonna give them back to you because I want you to give me a Randy next time. I don't have a keep binder.
You're gonna give it to me?
To give to Randy, give him the beat.
I'll see Randy tomorrow night. There you go. Check is good.
So the only thing that we're adding is the bold at the bottom here. Everything else above
He
is.
lost his second
Because,
pen.
because Drew took his pin back.
Oh, okay.
Josh still doesn't have his own.
thank you.
It's even the right to make.
Get a pen when he gets that raise.
He's gonna have to try that out.
It's science.
Talk me through just the last part, additionally the liquidated damages.
Yeah.
So you're saying if they decide
They get transferred and decide to quit,
to quit,
the liquidated damages would be waived.
what time do we have to get out of here?
Well, that was the next thing I was gonna talk about. We're supposed to be done at 7:30, which I'm still fine with tonight. I do think it might behoove us to add an hour to the ones coming up. We're making good progress, but as I see May's right around the corner, like,
We would like to get wrapped up as well.
Yeah.
you know.
Can we caucus for 5 minutes?
I'll use it if I don't.
To teach you about that then.
Want him back.
Are we going car or we just like?
Hey, it's already muted.
We knew the whole time.
It's so muted.
Rebecca, yell at me. Let's see. Oh, she sure did.
Sorry, Becca.
So is it supposed to be red or is it supposed to be black? We need Becca to tell us if it's working.
It was muted.
Yeah, it was, Becca said. I'll be really.
I'm okay with making both of them curriculum council and PD and S4. They can drop PD down to an S4.
That's how PD, that's gonna do nothing.
Well, I'm telling you, if I
So
get
I
on
should
PD,
fill
we're
out
gonna
that-
start
Oh,
doing
true.
shit.
What does she show up?
Well, that's where I do think they should be doing more, but
I do think they
I
should be
agree what
doing
you're
more.
saying, if you're gonna drop them down, be careful how much more you
Right,
ask.
don't ask them to do a bunch more, or they're all gonna quit.
Cause that's what that's what that says, but they just said they don't.
Correct. I'm big.
Curriculum council?
Yeah,
That's my little
Well-
in between things right now.
well, supplemental council just says, it doesn't say PD, it says staff and.
Staff and curriculum,
I can't believe those
professional
curriculum
development,
people.
curriculum development.
It's the exact same one that's been in there forever. Staff and Curriculum Development Council. That's what-
They
Had it
wanted
noticed.
to
Because it was the
change that
same
to.
council at
So
one
there's no
point.
PD council.
No, listen, it was this,
PD
the
council is
same
not in there
council,
and it's getting paid. Curriculum
like,
council
years
is
ago.
there.
I understand.
and they split it up,
Uh-huh.
but they never split it in here.
So they should both be here.
Yeah, like that,
Somebody could
I
create that.
think that this conversation means she needs to file the grievance.
yeah, curriculum council.
Agreed.
Well,
That's why I had
except
her
for we
go to.
muted
But
the
I
whole
also
thing.
told her that she has to have it, like, I know what they'll do. Every person who wants to be a part of it has to sign it. Cause anybody who doesn't won't get paid.
That's why I told her the same thing. But as far as,
But we
That's
muted the
still
whole,
muted,
yeah, but we muted the, nobody knows.
oh, we know. But as far as she can count, there's only 3 certified staff that this reflects.
On the curriculum,
Admin, Heather Stegman, stuff like that, that doesn't apply to them.
So they have like one elementary, one middle.
No, there's more than that, but elementary hasn't shown up all years.
But aren't they just getting the stipend
no,
There is no
for the
curriculum.
curriculum
for the
council,
curriculum
he's saying.
council?
They don't have a stipend.
Oh, there is no stipend.
I mean, there is.
That's why we're gonna.
There should be.
These things should probably have like a defined term.
Correct, yes.
She like how-
You're gonna point out to them
Word
that it's
numbers.
not split.
I mean,
They wanna,
this, welcome to my brain for the last week, like what am I? Do you think I should have?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Yes.
The right answer. I think we should start requiring dessert. Have I said that yet?
That's fine.
Dessert should be
Yeah.
brought in like an hour after we've been negotiating.
It's supposed to be, that's fine.
Cause right now I'm craving, like, are the M&Ms
Split
gone?
it.
Now I
No,
like
they're
actually,
full.
so I'll actually take it.
go back and pay everybody what you should have been paying them.
Stop
Whose are
talking
these?
about your ability to-
Whose are these? Do we even know? Don't know, that's
Oh, right there.
I'm a snacker, I snack all day
I
long.
really do want to fight. That's really.
Who's Debbie's number? We need to call her.
Amy and I we're trying to guess whether that's a consistent state of being and you're now just verbalizing it, or if there's a particular
I think it's consistent.
issue, particular instance tonight.
But I think it gets riled up sometimes.
That's the secret start.
I don't think they should drop it.
Okay.
I know,
That's pretty
right?
true.
Thank you.
I
I know, I am too. I should have took my guns.
I'm proud of you.
Give me my 4 days.
You like, you started with 2 days on there.
I think that part of why I'm like that about
Can I ask
negotiations is
when this
that I'm so tired.
took place and why we're doing it? I mean, this situation happened.
Saying, you have to support.
And they got charged.
This is at this point a 3-year fine.
Oh, no, they didn't quit, but they won the election.
They're gonna fight it.
Good job.
That's why it's different than one of those really expensive fancy tents, cause
Yeah.
I spent $100, so that'd be $100 top down.
I should, I put it on mute during negotiation. Yeah.
Isn't
like,
there,
I
isn't there a way
put
to,
my
like an exception from mute on everyone but her? Like here it is.
Not that organized, you know.
And it's still gonna buzz every 5 minutes.
Okay.
So.
Josh,
You're not wrong.
to keep the friction head, it heats the
Oh,
ink
because
up
then
to 140
It's easier to wonder,
degrees
like-
and it causes a chemical reaction. The ink is still there, but it's been heated, so now it's clear.
So you can't put it in the microwave, you can't leave it in the sun, or it will go away, you can't iron it.
So if I,
We'd love to.
Just the dryer, I don't wanna do this,
Dryer.
but
Sorry.
it's erasable, it's
So
science.
we don't have a ton of problem with this. A couple things that we'd like to see changed. First off, in it says if reassignment or transfer, we'd like reassignment taken out of there because at the secondary level, we change classes quite a bit, and that's technically a reassignment. So if all of a sudden we have to teach another section of repeat freshman English, somebody's gonna have a reassignment because they may have been teaching English 3 and then they have to get reassigned because we have to have a section of semester 1, English 1. And that's technically a reassignment. Or if we have an over enrollment in walking class from weights class, that is a reassignment of position. Okay, so we're not okay with the reassignment piece. We are okay with the transfer. Our counter proposal would be is if cross out reassignment, or if transfer is required after the first contract day of the year, the certified employee, we're good with everything else down to at least in that last sentence of the first paragraph. We're not okay with that. At least one additional workday shall be provided for a peer teacher of the same subject. We'd like to strike that out and then strike out just reassignment on the bottom last sentence. And the reason on the strikeout on the one additional workday for the peer, if they're getting transferred, we're gonna provide them support with a peer or an instructional coach, but it may not be
All day for one day.
all day for one day or whatever. Like we're gonna have to provide that support for any of those. Anytime we have a reassignment or a transfer, we do provide that support already for that transfer.
I would disagree with that. They may be assigned, but at least teachers are telling us they are not getting that support. So maybe this is an employee issue.
On a reassignment or on a transfer?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one.
Transfer is building to building.
Yeah, no, I know, but like,
But what if, yeah, I
they
forgot.
don't, it's not, that's not a question I asked, like, hey, I got moved, my position got moved, is what they say, you know, like, I don't know if that means building, if it means transfer, or just reassignment to a
Because
different.
we don't, I mean, we've seen very few transfers, and most of the transfers we've seen have been not mitigated by, like, not instigated by
By you
us.
guys, yeah.
Most of the time, if there's a mid-semester transfer,
They
It's
requested.
it's been a requested, we've provided an option for a transfer,
Mhm.
but it hasn't been a forced transfer.
Yeah.
We've just provided, hey, there is a position open, if you want to transfer that position, I know you're struggling where you're at, and maybe there's disagreements, or maybe you're not comfortable, or maybe we open up that option
Mhm.
for that transfer,
Right.
but it is not, I have not pushed a transfer.
The thing about reassignments at the elementary level though is like, you were still in the same building, but if you go from teaching 6th grade to 1st grade, that is
Big
a
difference.
huge, like, they have to redo everything. They're usually moving rooms, like,
You do that
mid-year, it's a whole thing.
I don't know.
Like, cause Drew's thinking is like, he's gonna know before the first contract day if something like that would need to be done.
We had someone in our building, I don't know if it was required or an optional thing, probably optional, just really recommended.
I mean, trying to find a better fit.
Yeah, yeah, no, it
But
was
it was
good, I'm
their
not
option.
saying, yeah, okay, but that was still optional, wasn't it? Okay.
yeah,
So that's where my struggle is, we just.
the only time where I've seen where it's actually, we've mandated that is if
An enrollment
if
issue.
we have an enrollment issue at the beginning of the school year. And we move folks, and I can see that.
And that's why the first contract day for us, because we're gonna know by the first contract day where it's gonna be. But like, as far as reassignments, at the secondary level, there's reassignments all the time. I mean, those class schedules
I
are
agree with that one.
changing, so that would be the second somebody gets moved from your first hour ELA freshman to now we're moving that first hour ELA freshman to your 7th hour ELA freshman. And now they've been taken out of the null and void of the liquidated damages. That's problematic. Just by changing an hour of them teaching, not even changing their class structure or any of that, just changing.
That is a different circumstance, I agree with that.
So like I get the taking off the reassignment part at the beginning, but for the null and void thing, I think it still maybe would apply for elementary, again, I'm saying. Say after the deadlines have passed, then you tell them that position is closed at the elementary building next year, this is the position we're putting you in. That's technically a reassignment.
So maybe a reassignment for the following year.
Yeah, for the following year, but if it's after the liquidation dates, you know what I'm saying? They should not have those damages. That difference makes sense.
So like
I
on
get what you're
July,
saying, it's
and
just
on
a-
July 20th, if we make a second grade
Yes.
teacher, a 6th grade teacher, they should have the option to
Yes.
assign without liquidated
Yes.
damages.
I mean, you're splitting
I'm
hairs.
struggling, I'm struggling with that one a
Oh,
little bit
really?
because
Yeah, because that's not much different than if I've taught US history and nothing but US history, and then I get thrown into nothing but world history.
It's wildly
It's
different.
my degree, that's what I have a degree in, we hired you to be a social studies teacher. We didn't hire you to be a US history teacher. We hired you to be an elementary teacher. We didn't hire you, like when we're hiring people as elementary teachers. We're hiring people as social studies teachers. We're hiring PE teachers. We're not hiring a 7th hour US history, 6th hour AP government. That's not what we're hiring. And I guess that's and maybe I'm coming because I'm a secondary guy, but
no.
whenever we talk to people about jobs every year, outside of a few people at the high school, your schedule's changing.
The thing that really makes me nervous at the elementary level is this last year, we closed 6 sections. And so because we did that, we had to move some people around, and that wasn't because we wanted to do that, was our
Due to
enrollment,
enrollment.
our
Right.
enrollment was extremely low.
I just think those,
So we do that.
Right.
You know, and now we've got 6 teachers that we don't have teachers for, if they all choose to bail.
I mean,
You know,
I don't.
is that what's best for kids?
I mean, very rare is that gonna happen.
Oh, in the next few years. it's
been
gonna
happening, but,
No, I mean, that all 6 are gonna leave.
right, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think, yeah.
They need jobs.
I don't disagree with that, but I mean, I think you've got to, I mean, you know, one thing I'll say, Levi, is you talk about, you know, we've got to think about all those things. I mean, that's a possibility,
That's fair.
you know.
Yeah,
And the other thing is it's gonna, you know, it's a different world now than it was 20 years ago. I mean, there's still people that are hiring, districts that are hiring in August, and that wasn't the case at one time. And so, I mean, I think,
I guess I don't know, I would like somehow to see, I guess, something to make sure that that's at least handled as well as it can be, like make sure, you know, like, I don't know.
You
'Cause that's
said
not the
within
contract.
one day.
so I will say this, when we made those cuts, you know, and I don't like to say cuts, that's not what we did.
Like
We-
the
We
science.
closed those classrooms, let me say that, we closed those classrooms because enrollment was low. You know, oftentimes there were a couple of teachers there, so first thing you do is you open that up, does anybody want to transfer? And so like, you know, we closed the 4th grade at Gertrude Walker, and we had a teacher that volunteered to move to another building because of that. And so we opened that up and asked for volunteers before we just forced that.
Like,
you know?
the part I do like about this is, and it's why I'm okay with part of it, is the people that transfer mid-year, And we're already giving them time, like when we've had people transfer mid-year, I'm already giving them days, you know, whether it's in the contract or not, because it's the right thing to do and that's what they need. I don't have a problem with that part. The reassignment part on all of it is where I really struggle, just because there is so much reassignment inside the district that happens, and every time somebody gets reassigned, it, you know, it gets them out of a contract. That's not, we didn't hire, that's not how we hire. That's not our philosophy in hiring. It's never been a philosophy in hiring of we're hiring a kindergarten teacher, now we're hiring an elementary teacher.
I think you need to remember though, we are applying for it differently than you're hiring. I'm applying for that speech and habit job. She's
Specific
applying for
position.
that fourth grade position job,
I
right?
get that.
Like, and that's part of negotiations. You're looking at it from the admin side, we're looking from the teacher side, so I told you. I would like to stop right here and let's bring this table in and bring it back. But because we still gotta read the letter and everything. How do you guys feel about adding the hour?
Adding what? Oh, the hour chart.
Good. We'll just, for each of the original, already scheduled ones, we'll just add an hour. At some point, not right now, we still have plenty of dates scheduled, but at some point, we'll have to add a few more in the future.
Hopefully.
Let's be
Come on.
Our positive thinking.
Alright, we'll table this one. Into the sheets we have here.
We've got this, guys.
Do it next meeting.
We just added 3 hours. Come on, Amber.
Doing great.
We can
We're
just go
down.
all day on a Saturday.
We're down, we're getting close
Hey,
to
I'm good with all day on
compensation. What's left other than compensation?
Hours and amounts of work, calendar, dress code. I've got to pull up. PTO. Just when you start to feel good, we show you the list of everything else. Okay.
Well, we are almost
Look how agreeable we are, you know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding.
Let's table this, let's table this, let's table that.
If you just agreed, we wouldn't have had to table it.
Those are
Whose
not
are
coming
these?
back.
Whose are these?
They're not coming back. to
They're in
Sarah.
your office?
Mine's a friction pin too, Josh.
Yeah,
All
so
different
these are my
colors.
clicky ones.
I've got the clicky one and
You
it's
guys,
very
can I shut
simple.
off?
I love it, it's
Glad
nice.
to see you. You guys do.
I got all kind of colors.